Yo, what's up guys? We have a race coming up tomorrow. Neither of us have competed in it. This is Will, by the way. You guys know Will. He's actually here in California for the week. We're gonna be making some content, and it starts with 2 races this weekend. Will is obviously from the East Coast. North Carolina?
North Carolina.
And I just moved here, so I have not done the Santa Barbara County Road Race, which is tomorrow. And we're sitting here doing our pre-race thing, and I thought, let's just start the camera, because it's kind of interesting, like, well, let's dive into it. But first, of course, we do a little shakeout ride before tomorrow. A couple hours, a couple of efforts, a couple of openers. Wish us luck, guys. See you in a little bit. Okay, so here we are in Zwift. Shout out Taylor Dawson, who is the KOM leader of the lap, apparently. So as you can see, we're not actually in Santa Barbara, first of all. This is closer to home. This is near Orchid or Santa Maria. 6 laps. I heard this race was harder than I was originally thinking, and can confirm, now that I've looked at it, there's actually quite a bit of climbing. If you look at the profile here. And this is one thing I do when I'm looking at a course for the first time, is I will generally just peep on Strava or your app of choice, and you can look at those critical moments. So obviously, for me, Will can give his take in a second. I'm looking at this climb and I'm thinking, can I survive the climb? As a sprinter, I'm not gonna use this as a springboard. I'm like, can I survive this? So first of all, 6 times. That's a lot. Now, if we go to one of the segments here, let's see, maybe this one? Dominion climb. 4 minutes is not a lot, but 6 times 4, does the math check out? Is that 24?
Yeah.
It's 24 minutes at what's gonna be probably an above threshold effort, I imagine, because of the start list, which we're gonna get to in a second, is full of hitters. And this is kind of the first thing I look at, right? And if we're looking at the percent here, it's like not particularly steep. It's 3.5%. It's actually not that steep at all. There is a part in the middle that probably lasts a minute or so at like 6 or 7%. So on paper, it's not very hard. My teammates have told me that it's actually quite hard because everyone just goes thermonuclear. And the way I see this type of race playing out is I want it to be hard throughout. So I'm hoping for some afternoon wind. I'm hoping for some really tough efforts like on the flats, breakaway attempts. I don't want it to be a waiting game. Everyone's fresh and recharged to just go absolutely hard on the climb. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, the way this course looks like it breaks down is nobody's going to be fresh by the end. It looks like it's got a little of attrition in it, but also the speed on this climb is pretty high, like 22 kilometers an hour, which...
At the steepest part.
Yeah, which...
Still draftable.
Yeah, still draftable. That indicates to me the run-in is probably pretty good. Like, you can probably come into it with some good speed and maintain it. So even though it's a longer climb, draftable, and also his power is not super high. I don't know how much he weighs, but his heart rate's like 190 here, so that he could weigh very little, and that's actually good watts per kilo. But it looks like on this...
But speed, you're totally right. This is the steepest section right here.
The key point might be after that, like the top of the climb, which it looks like it continues going up a good bit, and that could be the point where people start to crack. Because a lot of people think of like the steepest part. I would probably sag that as much as I could, unless you're attacking, and then attack over the top. And then the key part becomes the downhill, the descent after. If it's wide open and like super swarmy, then it'll come back together and the attrition doesn't matter. Attacking over it's not gonna matter if the whole pack can maintain 40 miles an hour.
Great point. You're totally right. People that I've spoken with who have done this race have talked about coming over the top of the climb is actually the key moment. And to your point, like, if you can attack and get a gap over the top of the climb, this downhill is so ripping fast. What ends up happening is it locks things in place. So if you have, let's say, even if it's a 3 or a 5 second gap over the top, everyone's just spun out going like 75 Ks an hour or like 45 miles an hour. And we're all resting. And then there's this little bump, and then it's just kind of this like flat, mostly downhill run up until the climb again. So it'd be a good opportunity to get a gap over the top of the climb. I don't know if, for me at least, attacking on the climb is a good idea because I'm not that guy. I'm not a watt per kg guy. So should we talk about the finish?
Yeah, let's look at it.
And then we're going to talk about equipment because I think that's really important for a road race like this. So the finish goes up, as you can see in the map here. This little tiny leg here is where the finish is. The only time you see the finish is at the very end of the last lap. If we zoom in on that, specifically right when we turn off this road right here in the map, let's go to that moment, which is right there. And we look at it. The steepest part of the entire course is like the final 100 meters of this race, and it gets up to like over 10%. So I have actually watched, this is the other part of this that I do, and we won't share screen. You guys can just go to YouTube, and if it's your local race, you want to learn more about it, you haven't done it yet, just go to YouTube, and hopefully somebody, probably not NorCal Cycling, but somebody's made a GoPro video about your race. You can actually look at it. I've already done that for the finish of this race. Somebody posted a video, and just like the data suggests here, it is a very fast run and you can carry a lot of speed, but then you're hit with 11%, and the middle of this final 200 meters is steep and difficult, and everyone's just going to be going as hard as they possibly can. There's a little reprieve here in the middle. You can see this guy's power comes down and it gets almost flat, 1%, 0.5%, and then it kicks up one more time for the finish up to like 6%. So it's kind of this like 3-stage thing. Fast running, you get hit with this wall, it flattens out, and then one more bump to the finish. So if you can survive the wall, recover in that little flat bit, and then you sprint up the final 50 or 100 meters of 6%, you're good to go. It's not like a pure sprinter run-in though, because it's about a 1-minute effort. This whole section here, the KOM is about 1 minute. I know he did it in 1:24, but I think the winner tomorrow is gonna be doing this in about a minute. So is a 1-minute effort a sprint?
If it's got two different legs to it, there's a sprint at the end and a sprint at the beginning, it looks like. Like you gotta sprint into the fast section, hold it, and then sprint again. It really depends on who all comes into it, really, and like how hard we're going at the end.
This could work out for me. It's probably too hard for me. I'll be honest with you guys. We're gonna make, by the way, we're gonna make a video about this race specifically, and Sunday's crit. We'll talk about that later. But if the stars align and the race unfolds the way I want it to, which I said is not just a who can go up the climb the fastest 6 times, if it's kind of hard throughout, it could really benefit me. And this type of finish is good for me because I am not a pure sprinter. Pure sprinters are just heavier, they make more raw power, more high speed. For a sprinter, I have pretty good watt per kg, so this style finish could suit me, but it depends on how the whole race plays out. Will, how do you see yourself winning this race?
Yeah, I think, especially if I'm gonna race against, we haven't looked at the competition.
But we're gonna do that in a second.
If I'm thinking about just racing against you, like I know your minute power is insane. Like what the Bay climb you did a while ago, that was like over 800 watts. I don't wanna play with that, you know, like especially being a little heavier. So I wanna make the rest of the race harder, specifically on you. So I've gotta figure out ways to draw that out. And it looks like, yeah, that descent's gonna be super fast if you're smart and the pack works together correctly. Yeah, it's just gonna be a matter of seeing how the pack's working and like where you can put pressure on people that are gonna be nervous about different moves, or just put pressure on the entire field on the climb. So really add as much attrition in there as possible and probably go a little early or just wait for something weird to happen at the end and take advantage of it.
Yeah, it's 85 miles. It's going to be hard. I don't know if I'm going to be there at the end, but if I am, I'm liking the looks of this finish.
Yeah, that's good for you.
But just to let you know, and we'll skip over to the reg list, I'm not the person you have to be worried about tomorrow because let's look at who's starting this race. This is my other pro tip. If you guys are trying to do some recon of a course you haven't raced yet, look at Strava like we're doing. Go to Street View, which we're not going to do, but that's something that you can do. Is you can actually go to Street View on Google Maps and actually look at the finish. This is more important for crits and things like that. You can look at the final corner. But without any further ado, let's look at the pre-reg. Who's registered list on Bike Reg? 56 entries for January road race.
Pretty big race.
Solid. That's pre-reg too. I imagine there's going to be 60, 70 riders. But holy smokes. I apologize in advance if I don't call you out specifically, but I'm just going to go through and like Chris Blevins,
That's good
world champion. I'm not even exaggerating. He's a world champion mountain biker. John Borselman is a national gravel champion. Holy smokes. I'm racing against my teammate. This is weird. I'm on VFR, right? But a lot of the guys are Cal Poly students. So like
They're racing collegiately.
They're racing collegiate. This is a collegiate race. So they're racing on the collegiate team. So it's gonna be a little bit weird. We'll talk about that in the proper race breakdown video. But yeah, Lance hate it. Who else? Who's Will Harden? Who's that guy? Oh,
don't worry about him.
Look out for him. Eddie Huntsman. I mean, there's just a lot. Anders Johnson, track superstar. Who else is in here? I mean, it's a long list of really strong guys. Jason Saltzman, I totally forgot he registered. Do you know Jason Saltzman? Strong climber. Oh, he's gonna be scary. So anyway, yeah, Watson Brothers too. It's gonna be cool. What's cool about living in SLO, I'm going off on a tangent now, is I get to race against these SoCal people. And I'm looking forward to it. So anyway, that's my tip on like how to recon a course that you have never raced, which is the case for Will and I for the Santa Barbara road race. Let's take the camera off the tripod and look at bikes, because I think equipment is the other side of the story, especially on this course, and we'll get into it in a second.
So my new team bike for the year is a Haro. If you want to see more about this bike, you can look at my channel. But
link in the description, folks.
Link in the description. Some more specifics about what I think is going to help with this road race. Little details, aero bottles. It's going to be a fast descent, so if I'm off the front, I'm going to want to be aero and fast. I also have some gearing I think will be perfect. General road race setup with the 5211 as the biggest gear. Usually if you're spinning out a 5211, you just tuck in and it's gonna be a little faster. I've also got the 36 with a 34 cassette on the back, so I can get up that hill spinning if I need to. Carbon saddle rails. It's not a particularly lightweight bike, but it's pretty fast on a flat. Got 30 mil tires, which is above standard for road racing, but I heard the course is a little bumpy, so that might help out. I usually pump up 30 mils to 69 PSI, which is pretty nice.
Tubeless, yeah?
Tubeless, and they roll pretty well. Kind of narrow rims for the race, so when it gets a little crosswindy, they might not be as helpful, but going up the hill, they'll be a little bit lighter. So we'll see how that works for the race. Getting up that hill is gonna be a good thing every lap, all 6 laps, so.
There it is. Should we talk about my bike?
Talk about your bike.
So this is my Tavelo. You guys know I've made a video. I just recently posted a video about this bike. You can learn more about it. Specific to this race tomorrow though, like Will said, and like my teammates have said who have actually done this race, the pavement is bad. So I have extra chonky tires. I think that's where I'm gonna start, because that's probably one of the most important things. I have 32 in the back, tubeless, Continental GP 5000, and I have a 30 in the front on my number 6 wheels. I don't think I've talked about these wheels on the channel. You guys know I have another set of number 6 wheels that are a little bit shallower. These are their deeper ones, 50/58. This is kind of a marginal call, and really we're splitting hairs when it comes to performance, but I went with the deeper ones because I'm not expecting a really strong crosswind, and it's going to be generally high speed. There is that climb in the race. There's going to be a small weight penalty to this setup compared to the shallower wheels, but I think overall this is probably the better choice. Again, we're splitting hairs when it comes to performance. I think the biggest thing is in the tires, which I said are big and they're full of sealant, and I'm going to be rolling over the crappy pavement without any consequence to my rolling resistance. Now, let's briefly talk about stuff that I haven't changed specific for this race, but I think it's just worth mentioning. 165 cranks, I love 165 cranks. This is Shimano, it's Di2. It's got 11 tooth in the back. I don't know what it goes up to. I can't remember. 30 something? It's enough gearing to get over that climb. We're not gonna be going over anything that steep. Carbon railed saddle wheel for performance. Of course, a GoPro mount for YouTube. And what else? Yeah, nothing else really specific to this bike for the race. So should we take just a quick second to talk about carbs? Yeah, let's just send it right into carbs. Fueling a race like this is important. It's 85 miles. We're gonna be expecting it to take about 3.5, 4 hours, somewhere in there. I'm gonna be aiming for over 100 grams of carbs per hour. So the first hour you're kind of covered by breakfast and what you have on board, but you're fueling in that first hour for the second hour, and you're fueling in the second hour for the third hour. So I'm gonna be wanting to take at least 500 grams of carbs. My math right? 400 grams of carbs?
Yeah, 400.
Probably 400, and then you always want to add a little bit more because you never want to come back from the race or the training ride completely empty. And I'm going to be taking it in the form of 2 60-gram bottles. In fact, I might even do 90-gram. I use Formula 369. I'm probably going to put 3 scoops in each bottle. There's a neutral feed. We're going to get additional water because 2 bottles is not enough for this long of a race. And then the rest of my carb intake is going to be just strictly gels. I'm going to have a mix of caffeine gels and then normal gels. And I think they're 30 grams each, so a lot of those. We'll show a pile of gels to give you an idea of what's going to be in my pockets for the race. But aiming for 100, 120 grams of carbs per hour is where you get the proper fueling to maximize your performance. I want to be fast as I can for that last 1-minute climb. So next time you see us, we'll be in a race breakdown. It'll be on the channel soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you in the next one.